All right, wrestling fans, this show's for you. If you're interested in pro wrestling, the history of pro wrestling magazines, pro wrestling action figures, this is the place you want to be. So come back here and watch the show, or else. Hey gang, welcome back to the clubhouse. This time it's not the comic book clubhouse, it is the wrestling clubhouse. Maybe I should rename it the locker room, the wrestling locker room for my wrestling shows. This one here is pretty much all wrestling. If you're not a wrestling fan, then I'm sorry, but we'll catch you on the next show when we get back to some comic books and whatnot, action figures, toys, and everything else. But for this one, it was a request from Eric K. He wanted to see some of my wrestling mags that I have. So I figured, well, I'll put together a wrestling themed show, and we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure. I can't show them all because I got so many of them. I'd be here for years. Anyway, so we're going to start off. Obviously, you can see I got a little mask action going on. You've probably seen it in the background over the course of the last 6 months or so. This is a replica mask of one of my favorite wrestlers, Mil Máscaras, man of a million masks. He's a Mexican wrestling legend, luchador legend. And I always loved, to me, he was like a superhero of wrestling. Because most of the wrestlers I grew up watching, up here in the Northeast, we were primarily WWWF, which is the precursor to what is now WWE. The WWWF, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, was around from I think it was like either 1960 or 62, somewhere around there. I think it was a faction that split off from the NWA because they wanted to have their own champion. And there was something with Buddy Rogers, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was their first champion, I believe. Which was quickly followed by Bruno Sammartino. And he's the one I grew up with as champion, watching WWWF TV. So anyway, we didn't get to see much of anybody else. We didn't get to see NWA, AWA, Texas, Mid-South, any of that stuff until much later, until we were probably in the 80s, early 80s was when we started actually getting other wrestling. There was a brief stint in 1975 where Eddie Einhorn, who ran the IWA, International Wrestling Association, I believe it was it. I don't think it was Alliance. I believe it was Association. They were out of Chicago, and for about, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 weeks, they actually took off WWWF programming and put on IWA. And IWA, their champion was this guy, Mil Máscaras. So I read about him in the wrestling magazines, but to actually see him, he was like a superhero. I mean, he was built like a superhero, and of course he wore a mask. Not a whole lot of wrestlers at that time that I saw anyway wore a mask. So, and speaking of the mask, I think I'm going to take it off here. There we go. So, but yeah, this is a replica of it, and boy, this is a really nice mask. You can buy them on Amazon, all kinds. They've got, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine the number of them. As you can see, I've got another one of his masks right here, which is the black and gold, which these are the two masks that I saw him wear and I really, really liked him. Of course, he used to always come to the ring with another mask on, and then he would rip it off and either have this one on or have that one on. Like one would be leopard skin, one might be red and green, whatever. It was pretty cool. So anyway, I got that one up there. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't see it. But I have the mask of Del Wilkes was his name. And he was known under the mask as the Patriot. He had a brief stint in WWE or WWF, whatever it was called at the time, but did not last. I believe he had a feud with, I think it was Bret Hart and maybe Vader at that time. And then, unfortunately, he just recently passed away. But I was able to get a mask of his. I thought it was very cool, very patriotic. I don't dare. Well, I can try. There we go. All right. Anyway, sorry about that. Anyway, this is the mask of the Patriot. So it was pretty cool. I really liked the red, white, and blue, you know, and the stars on it and everything. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So, Eric K., one of my subscribers, asked to see my wrestling magazine, some of my wrestling magazine collection. I've got quite a few. I've got 3 magazine boxes full, plus an overflow, plus I know I've got some tucked away up there, but I just couldn't get them out. So what I did was I got all the ones that I could get out, and we'll take that and see what we can do with it. I'm going to start off with probably the earliest mag I have, and it's called The Ring Wrestling, and I need my glasses, so I'll put on my Go-Go Check specs. So let's see here. This is from September 1966. So I kind of picked out a couple of pages I wanted to look at, show you. One was the table of contents. This magazine is very brittle. So, trying to handle it with kid gloves. Oh, there we go. Gotta give the camera time to focus in. Okay. Alright, and like I said, this is from 66. I was 4 years old when this was out on the magazine racks. I keep looking down here because this is where my laptop is, and this is where the camera feeds to. So I'm looking down here to see what you guys are seeing. So I'm not trying to disrespect anybody by not looking into the camera, but I would have to do this, and then I can't tell if I'm on or if I'm showing things right or whatever. So I'm always looking down here at the camera. Anyway, so here's an article. Whoa, my cover's... Oh, my cover came off. Oh. I told you it was brittle. Anyway, we'll put that over there. Okay. Here's an article on Big Ernie Ladd, who was a football player at the time. And he got into pro wrestling. And he became a very big name. Big Cat Ernie Ladd was what he went by. He came through. He was big in, I think, Detroit. I believe it was Detroit. He came through here in the 70s, I believe. And I believe he was managed by the Grand Wizard of Wrestling, Ernie Roth. Okay, so what else did I want to show? Right here is an article on They call him Judo Al Hayes, British mat ace headed for the USA. Something struck me about that name, and then I looked at the picture over here, right there, and then I said, that's Lord Alfred Hayes from the WWE in the 80s, or WWF in the 80s. I'm just going to continue to call them WWE because that's what they're called now, but it was in the 70s, it was WWF. In the 80s, it was WWF. In the 90s, it became WWE. So I'm just going to call him WWE. Anyway, this is Lord Alfred Hayes. He used to be part of the WWE. He would be on those USA shows they had, like Tuesday Night Titans and stuff like that. He would be like a co-host to Vince McMahon. So that was pretty neat to find that article about him. And then this was my favorite part of all the wrestling magazines, I think, aside from any story that might be about a favorite wrestler. But it was the official rankings. So I'm hoping that catches that, because it looks like it's acting up the thing. Yeah. So let's see. Maybe that will help. Okay. Anyway, let's see. The top men were, number 1 was Gene Kiniski. Number 2 was Bruno Sammartino. Number 3 was Cowboy Bill Watts, who went on to later on and promote the Mid-South Wrestling organization. Number 4 was Lou Thesz, who was a legendary champion. Pedro Morales was number 5, who used to be the WWF champion. Let's see, how did that work? Bruno lost the title to Ivan Koloff, and I believe Ivan Koloff lost it to Pedro Morales. Pedro Morales then lost it to Stan the Man Stasiak, and 9 days later, Stasiak lost it back to Bruno. That was in the course of like 2 to 3 years. I think it was back in the early to mid 70s. Number 6 was Ray Stevens, who was part of a tag team with Pat Patterson for a number of years. Judo Al Hayes was number 7. Crusher Lisowski, which I believe was just simply known as the Crusher around Milwaukee. And then 9 was Jackie Fargo, the man responsible for Ric Flair's classic strut. And number 10 was Crusher Stan Stasiak. So, very cool. I always enjoyed looking at the world rankings. And this one here deals with a lot of people that I don't remember because I was 4 years old. But in the back of the Ring magazines, they used to have these, which were like wrestling reports from different parts of the country. So that was always cool to read too. And like I said, this is the Ring wrestling, and it would be ironic that this is the earliest one that I have, because the first wrestling magazine that I remember picking it up at a place called Flynn's Market. Flynn's News. I'm sorry, Flynn's News in South Berwick, Maine. My grandfather used to go there to pick up his newspapers. This was before we started going to the old Stop and Go convenience store. But he used to go to this place, Flynn's News, and they used to have newspapers and magazines and stuff like that, stationery stuff. But I remember this right here, and I was able to find a copy of it on eBay and bought it. This is from November 1974, the Ring Wrestling. And boy, I still get that same feeling when I see this of oh my gosh, they have magazines about pro wrestling, because my grandfather got me into watching wrestling. And these two guys right here were the first guys I remember as the WWF Tag Team Champions, and that was Tony Garea and Dean Ho, the Happy Hawaiian Dean Ho. And those were, for me, wrestling was a true morality play. Good guys versus bad guys. It wasn't until like the 90s when you had your Stone Cold and your Rock that the line between good guy and bad guy became blurred, and you had anti-heroes and whatnot like that. But back then, and to me, it was real. But this right here, this means as much to me as some of my comic books that take me back to those special times. So this is very, very cool. I'm very lucky to have that copy. And now we got Sports Review. This is from April 1974. Is there a plot to wipe out Joe LeDuc? I'm just going to... I pulled out a handful from each year as I go, just to show what they had, what was going on, what they looked like, the style of magazine. This apartment house wrestling, for some reason, that got big in the mid 70s, through the late 70s, and I guess my understanding of it now, back then I didn't know. I just thought they were people that wanted to settle a score and they'd fight. It was women would settle a score, and they didn't want to wrestle in a ring. They'd wrestle at somebody's house, But I guess it turns out that when you grow up and you figure this stuff out and you find out, no, they were people you'd pay to come have a wrestling match in your house. That to me is just bizarre, but oh well. Anyway, they got articles on Baron von Raschke, Vern Gagne, who was the owner and promoter of the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, and he was also their champion for a number of years. So, but they used to have, let's see. Oh yes, every wrestling magazine had these, and I loved them because I got to see what was going on in other organizations, not just what I was able to see on TV. The official rankings. So you got the American Wrestling Association and the NWA. Oh, nope, it doesn't say the N. Yeah, the NWA is up there. They actually listed midgets. They listed Worldwide Wrestling Federation, American Wrestling Association, the midgets, the NWA, tag teams, which was a combination of all the tag teams around the country, and women wrestlers from around the country. In the WWE, or WWF at the time, Bruno was the champion. Pedro Morales was the -- contender. Chief Jay Strongbow, who was one of my favorite wrestlers when I was a kid, when I first got into wrestling. Always loved him. Larry the Axe Hennig was number 4. Andre the Giant was Larry the Axe Hennig was number 3. Andre the Giant was number 4. Don Leo Jonathan, who was another giant, was number 5. Blackjack Lanza, part of the Blackjack tag team, he's number 6. Stan Stasiak, who would go on to win the title. Or actually, by this time, I think he's lost the title. Yeah, he lost the title back. Tony Garea was number 8. Iron Mike McCord. And Iron Mike McCord went on to become better known as, I believe, Austin Idol, the Universal Heartthrob. He wrestled in Memphis and that area. But I remember him first seeing him as Iron Mike McCord. And he was number 9, and Dean Ho was number 10. So, the champion of the AWA at this time was Vern Gagne, with the #1 contender being Superstar Billy Graham. Superstar Billy Graham is the man, is the reason I wear tie-dye. I love tie-dye, and he was the first one I saw in the magazines wearing tie-dye, and then he came to the WWE, I believe in 75, and he would just, it was just awesome. I loved the tie-dye. He was different. He was the forerunner of guys like Hulk Hogan, Jesse the Body Ventura. They all kind of stole from Billy Graham. And Billy, I think, will tell you he probably got his a little bit from Nature Boy Buddy Rogers or something like that. But he was a heel, but doggone, I liked him. So it was fun. But he is the reason you see me in tie-dye. That's why I'm wearing it, is because of Superstar Billy Graham. So, all right. And then we're moving on. We've got another one. There was all kinds of wrestling magazines out. Not as many as there were to come in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s. But there were probably half a dozen respected magazines. And this was one of them. Wrestling Review. This is from September of 74. And this one talks about, let's see, it says that it claims to be the world's largest selling wrestling magazine. We've got Jack Briscoe's enemies using brass knuckles, chairs, anything to take his crown. We got an article on Kung Fu. The White Angel takes off his mask for Wrestling Review. Got a rip in the cover here. Bruno Sammartino and Kowalski. The killer feud flares up in a bloody encounter. And you got Amateur Girls Wrestling on the Jersey Shore. Oh, I didn't even bother to show you the thing. There you go. Wrestling Review was around for quite a long time. Oh, they got a centerfold poster by of Kevin Sullivan, and boy, does he look different there than what he looks like today, or what he looked like later on in his wrestling career. He was a young fella, and he wrestled up here quite a bit in the WWF, and then he went to Florida and wrestled, I believe, for Eddie Graham's Championship Wrestling from Florida group. Who had Gordon Soley, the great wrestling announcer, and everything. But he that's where he developed the, I don't know what you want to call it, satanic devil worship type of character that he was. But to see him here, this was back when he was like Rookie of the Year days and stuff like that, Man, we're already at 25, and I haven't even gotten halfway through. This is going to be a long one, Eric. So I hope you can hang around. Let's see here. There's an article on Andre the Giant. Remember I had mentioned Don Leo Jonathan? That's Andre the Giant right here. Andre the Giant got Don Leo Jonathan in a bear hug. Don Leo Jonathan, I think, was like 6'8", 6'9", I think. Something like that. And of course, Andre was billed at 7 foot 4 inches. So, and here we got the Sammartino Kowalski feud. Well, so, and Jack Briscoe. Whoops, I guess I should let go of that. Jack Briscoe, who was a NWA champion for a couple of years. Okay. All right. So, then we got Wrestling Superstars from the summer of 1975. And there's Mil Mascaras right there in the middle with the gold and black mask with the M. There's Bruno. There's Andre. Jack Briscoe. Superstar Billy Graham right there. The Sheik, who was crazy. Wahoo McDaniel. Is that Wahoo McDaniel? Yep, that's Wahoo McDaniel. And Pedro Morales also on the cover. So, and there's an ad for a couple other wrestling magazines that were out at the time. The Wrestler and Wrestling, Inside Wrestling. Another article on Bruno Sammartino. I'm trying to move as fast as I can through this to try and get as much in as possible. Bobo Brazil. Here we go. Here we go. I'm talking about him so much. Here we go. Superstar Billy Graham. He was the man. He wound up winning the title from Bruno Sammartino in April of '77, I believe, in Baltimore. And I had mixed feelings because I loved Bruno as a champion, but I also wanted to see Billy Graham wear the gold, you know? So that was pretty cool. Oh, somebody cut out a picture out of here. Here's an article on Mil Mascaras, and here is the mask in this big picture right here. He's wearing the very same mask that I have the replica of, and that's what you saw him wear most of the time. Over here, in this picture that's cut right here, you can see he's got the black and gold, which is the other one. Those were the two primary ones that I saw him wrestling all the time. So, then Wahoo McDaniel. There's Andre the Giant. Article on Andre the Giant. The eighth wonder of the world. Dick the Bruiser. He was a scrapper. Let's see, what is that? Okay. So, and that was from summer of 1975. And we got another wrestling review from February of 1976. Let's see what's in here. Is the Blackjacks, who were popular as far as they were heels in the mid-70s, with their manager, Captain Lou Albano. In the WWF. Well, and just is a little crossover from I'm normally doing comic books, but here we go. This is a crossover little piece. It was actually somebody that wrestled as Batman. Oh, and somebody that wrestled as Robin. Go figure, right? There's the Chief, Peter Maivia. I remember he came to the WWF, and then he turned on, who was it he turned on? He was a popular wrestler. Doggone, now I can't remember who it was. Chief J. Strongbow. Yeah, they were a tag team, and he turned on Chief J. Strongbow, who was one of my favorites, you know. So it was like, wait a minute, he was a good guy. Why is he turning bad? All right, here we go. Here's another one, March 1976. This is the Big Book of Wrestling, another wrestling magazine that was on the racks at the time. And over here, we got Haystacks Calhoun. He was always billed as like 601 pounds. From Morgan's Corner, Arkansas. Let's see. British Mat News. There's the pinup for this one, which is somebody named Barbie Doll. Barbie Doll. But That was another one. This was a lesser known magazine, but it was out there. And we got Wrestling Monthly from 1976. Ole Anderson's Private Wars. Pat Patterson takes Brute out on a stretcher. Irish Patty Barrett loves a good fight. I never got to see him until the mid '80s, but I liked Ole Anderson. I know he's got a rep for being a pretty sour, salty individual, kind of bitter because he didn't make the money that everybody else made because he came in at a time before wrestling blew up, really. And but I liked him because he made it believable. He did not, he made you believe that what he was saying. He wasn't a screamer, a yeller, or anything like that. He wasn't acting, kind of wacky during his promos and stuff like that. He would talk plain, and he would just, tell you. And I always liked wrestlers that did that didn't yell and because those seem kind of okay, yeah, right, okay. But the guys who just spoke plainly and softly, or whatever, like Jake Roberts or Arn Anderson, those type of guys, I really gravitated to, as far as liking them. So I'm just looking now to see if I could find anything of note. Who is the family here? The Rougeaus. Yeah, this is the Rougeau brothers, Jock and Raymond. So, all right. We got wrestling picture book, and like I said, I just grabbed samples from each year. There's many more mags that I'm not going to get to show. I don't even know if I'll get to show all of what I pulled. This is Wrestling Picture Show, Wrestling Picture Book, put out by Sports Review. This is summer of 1976. You got Bruno and Andre right on the cover there. See Dusty Rhodes. Looks like superstar Billy Graham and the Grand Wizard of Wrestling down there in the lower left corner. Who's this fellow over here? I think that's Paul Jones. It looks like he's got the NWA U.S. title. Or it might have been the Mid-Atlantic U.S. title at that time. So let's see. Let's see what we got in this one. Third Man in the Ring. An article about the abuse that referees take. Let's see. It's hard because I know you didn't tune in to watch me reading down here. But I'm not sure the best way to go about showing them, unless maybe like that, I don't know. These are a lot of different pictures right there. He's throwing, what is that, popcorn or water or something? That's Moondog, Maine. He was a nut job. And then talking of nut job, is the king of all nut jobs. That's the Sheik, who is related to Sabu of ECW fame. He's the original Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, not to be confused with the Iron Sheik. His Bruno Sammartino looks like he's bloodied in the corner. It almost reminds me of when Stan Hansen hit him, busted him open with that lariat. Inside the lariat, he had a bunch of silver dollars, supposedly. Here's the Sheik. He's biting on the Japanese giant known as Giant Baba. Oh, who is this? Is this the Sheik? Yeah, this. I wonder if it's all about the Sheik. This is a Sheik where the Sheik throwing fire in the face of Freddie Blassie. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. I always loved battle royals too. And this is an article about. They used to have one, I believe, every year in Los Angeles, California, and it was a very popular one. In fact, that's what this wrestling magazine right here is. It's talking about that. It's got cover pictures on the cover. I remember seeing that. If you've seen, you probably saw me show this on one of my regular videos. I've been looking for that for a number of years. I remember seeing it in 1975 when it was on the rack. Went back to get it. It was gone. And I always wanted to see and read the article about all those superstars because I know they were coming from everywhere. I mean, Bruno was there, Mil Mascaras, the Sheik, Killer Kowalski, Edouard Carpentier. He was there, you know. So, I mean, it was fascinating. And this is all about different battle royals. Battle royals for blood and money. That's what it says. Battle royals for blood and money. And it lists several battle royals and who won them. Dick Slater won one. Let's see. Who is this? That Pat Patterson, Moondog, Maine. This is a thing, article on various blonde wrestlers. Whew, we're at 41 minutes already. Holy man. The McGuire twins. They were known for being huge. The McGuire twins. Wow. Huge. Now we got another one from Victory Sports Series. This is Wrestling Yearbook 1967. It's Wrestling Yearbook number 17. It's got special fan ballot. You decide which wrestlers must be banned from wrestling. And they got guys like Blackjack Mulligan, Ox Baker, who always claimed to have killed somebody in the ring with his heart punch. Stan Hansen, Abdullah the Butcher, the Sheik, Baron von Raschke. And then we've got the main article here which says, what turned Andre the Giant into Andre the Killer? Taking us back to 1976. Let's see what we got in here. We've got some official rankings. There we go. I hope that thing is picking them up. So, Worldwide Wrestling Federation champion was Bruno. The American Wrestling Association champion was Nick Bockwinkel, who he was another one I liked because he didn't yell, he didn't scream. He was very intelligent and very calm when he talked and did his promos. The NWA champion, the National Wrestling Alliance champion, was Terry Funk at the time. I heard recently that Terry Funk had some health woes, but then I think I read that they were somebody misread something or something like that. So I hope everything's okay with Mr. Funk, because he was one of the entertaining wrestlers. Let's see. The number one tag team was the Anderson brothers, Ole and Arn. Or that might have been Ole and Gene, the Minnesota Wrecking Crew. I believe that's who that was. I don't think Arn had come in yet. No, 76, no. The most hated wrestlers. Number 1 was Abdullah the Butcher. Number 2, the Sheik. 3, Stan Hansen. Ernie Ladd was number 4. The Spoiler, number 5. Nick Bockwinkel, number 6. Mr. Fuji, and they didn't even spell his name right. Fuji with a G, was number 7. Terry Funk, champion. He's listed as number 8. Number 9 is Stan the Man Stasiak. And number 10 is Jerry the King Lawler. And the most hated. Most popular, the leader there is Mr. Wrestling 2. Number 2 was Bruno Sammartino. 3, Andre the Giant. 4, Dusty Rhodes. 5, Mil Mascaras. 6, Chief J Strongbow. 7, Polish Power Ivan Putski. Number 8, Billy Robinson. Wahoo McDaniel was number 9. And Mike Graham, number 10. So, all right. What else we got in here? Oh, there's a little article piece on superstar Billy Graham. And there's Stan the Man Stasiak getting ready to deliver that heart punch to somebody. Who was that getting at? Tony Garea. It didn't look like Tony Garea. But what is this? These are all the wrestlers that should be banned. But there we go. Superstar Billy Graham in his tie-dye. Ha! All right. What else we got? What else we got in here? Recording star. Oh, I used to have this too. Freddie Blassie. He recorded an album. And I used to have it. I don't know what I did with it. Doggone. It was actually on red vinyl, blood red vinyl, you know. And he sang the song Pencil Neck Geek. That was great. That was a great song. You could find that probably, I'm sure that's probably on a Dr. Demento's thing, or you might even find it somewhere on YouTube. The Pencil Neck Geek. Nikolai Volkov returns to the WWF. Introducing Kevin Von Erich of the Von Erich family from World Class Championship Wrestling out of Texas. Dallas, Fort Worth area. This was cool. This was, they listed people who wanted to be pen pals to write back and forth about wrestling and stuff like that. I always thought that was neat. I always wanted to do it, but I never had the guts to. So, okay. And here is your 3 champions at the time of this book. You got Bruno. You got Nick Bockwinkel and Terry Funk. So, all right. That was 1976. And I'm not going to open this one up, but this is from 1977. We got, is there a secret pact between Bruno Sammartino and Mr. Wrestling 2? Which were 2 different organizations, so I don't know how that's going to be. Terry Funk, I brought the NWA to its knees. And then, how many executioners are there? Because in the WWE down here, WWF, they had a couple of different executioners, and I think they brought in a third one so that, to kind of throw confusion into the tag team matches. All of a sudden, a third one would roll out from under the ring or something. You know, he'd be fresh and beat up the good guys. All right, here we go. This is June 1977, and we got some more of that apartment wrestling. The cheerleader versus the secretary. I understand they did a lot of this just to sell magazines, you know. But I get a kick out of it now. I think it's funny. We got Andre the Giant saying, the fans expect too much from me. And then we've got Bruno meets his match in Big Ken Patera, the former Olympian. Let's see. The official rankings for June of 1977. That was always the first thing I looked for. I'm glad they put it right in the front of the magazine. Let's see. The champions were WWF was Bruno. The American Wrestling Association champion was Nick Bockwinkel. The National Wrestling Alliance champion was now Harley Race. Tag teams were Chief J Strongbow and Billy White Wolf. Billy White Wolf, who would later go on to be Sheik Adnan LKC in the AWA. Most hated wrestler number 1 was Abdullah the Butcher. Most popular wrestler, Andre the Giant. Okay, a lot of photos of the apartment wrestling. Oh, they got an article. You guys are going to hate me by the time I'm done with this, but doggone. Superstar Billy Graham personal photo album. Going to arm wrestle Andre the Giant up there in the corner. He was just something different than all the other wrestlers that I had seen up to that point. Andre the Giant, the fans expect too much from me. Here we go. This is the apartment wrestler. The apartment wrestler who liked to be hurt or lived to be hurt. The cheerleader versus the secretary. Okay. Well, all right. Bruno meets his match in Ken Patera. Rocky Johnson. Peter Vivia was Rocky's grandfather. Rocky Johnson was his father. Soul Man Rocky Johnson. Pat Patterson. 3,000-mile trek to glory. Pat Patterson had a great series of matches against Sergeant Slaughter in the late 70s or early 80s. Boot camp match. Oh my gosh, that was a feud, man. 1978. This is winter of 1978. Yearbook 1978. With Dusty Rhodes. Let's see. All right. Here's the official rankings for winter of 78. And the champions were WWF champion was Bob Backlund. American Wrestling Association champion was Nick Bockwinkel. National Wrestling Alliance champion was still Harley Race. The top tag team was Baron von Raschke and Greg the Hammer Valentine. The top number 1 hated wrestler was Stan the Man Hansen. Stan the Lariat Hansen. And the most popular was the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. It's the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, I tell you. Riding a lightning bolt across this country. Live and in living color, baby. That's as good of Dusty Rhodes as I'm ever going to get right there. Oh, Moondog Mayne is dead. Well, that's kind of not so much. He was kind of like I'm trying to think of who he would have been compared to. He was kind of one of those characters that was kind of crazy but beloved, you know. Maybe like a Mankind type of thing. There's Bob Backlund. Bloodied Bob Backlund. Wearing the version of the WWF belt right there. What else we got? Andre the Giant and Terry Funk, drawn together by a lifetime dream. That's a tag team you wouldn't have usually seen. There's Dusty Rhodes, a look into his private life, the secret behind his bionic elbow. And he had a great feud with who else? But, well, if we can get it in there, superstar Billy Graham. The complete story of wrestling's most popular athlete. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. The Bull of the Woods. Bob Backlund versus Antonio Inoki, who was a champion in Japan. Actually, I believe he also ran an organization over there, but I couldn't remember. Can't tell you which one it was, whether it was All Japan Pro or New Japan Pro. Okay, so there's 1978. We might make it out of the 70s. Here's another yearbook. This is this is fall of 78. And it's got Terrible Secret of the Spoiler's Mask. And, of course, we've got Andre the Giant being a guest referee in a match between superstar Billy Graham and the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. So, and then we go to 79. We have an annual 79 from spring of 1979. Right in the middle of Dusty Rhodes' heyday. About 10 years or so into his career, maybe a little more. Bob Backlund taking on superstar Billy Graham. Talking about Ric Flair, the most hated wrestler. And more apartment house wrestling. Or apartment wrestling, whatever you want to call it. So, Rookie of the Year, Tommy Rich, who went on to hold the NWA World title. Didn't hold it for long, but he did. He can claim to be champion. Wrestler of the Year, Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Match of the Year, Bob Backlund wins the title from superstar Billy Graham. I was actually bummed when this happened because while Backlund was okay, he was a good guy. I just was so enamored with superstar Billy Graham. I mean, he was so different, so charismatic. That's the word I'm looking for. He was so charismatic, And the most popular wrestler of the year, Dusty Rhodes. The plumber's son. Dusty used to, man, he was a king of the promos. He could do some really great promos. Most improved wrestler of the year, Dino Bravo from north of the border in Canada. Wound up dying tragically and mysteriously. Most hated wrestler of the year. Can you guess who it is? Woo! That's right, Ric Flair. Oh, we just cleared an hour. Oh my gosh, man. Bruno versus superstar Billy Graham. All bloodied up there. Great stuff. Oh, and they used to do a calendar. And we got Andre the Giant and Moondog Mayne. All right. Okay, Wrestling Yearbook, 1979. This is from spring. What was this one? That was spring. Oh, this is Sports Review. This was Sports Review 1979 annual. This is Victory Sports Series Wrestling 79 yearbook. So let's see how they compare. See if they do the top wrestlers for awards and whatnot. This looks like they're giving like stats for these. The top 50 stars in wrestling. So they list the top 50 stars, talks a little bit about them, and then they rank them. They rank them with their power and speed and all that stuff. I don't remember that. Tony Atlas, Andre the Giant, Abdullah the Butcher. You know, Bob Backlund, Dino Bravo, Jack Briscoe, Jim Brunzell, Ric Flair. High numbers for Ric Flair. As it should be. Terry Funk, Greg Gagne, Vern Gagne, Ivan Koloff, Jerry Lawler. So, Wahoo McDaniel. Trying to find some. All right, here's the official rankings. $1979. Let's see. WWF champion Bob Backlund, American Wrestling Association champion Nick Bockwinkel, National Wrestling Alliance Harley Race was their champion. Top tag team was Pat Patterson and Ray Stevens. The most popular person, Dusty Rhodes, and the most hated was number 1, Paul Jones. Paul Jones, who was wrestling's top superstar. Well, I think it's going to be Mr. Wrestling 2. I think it's Mr. Wrestling 2. He came out with the highest average score. Okay. Glow. Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. They had a series of magazines. WCW had some magazines from the 90s. Glow was from the 80s. Of course, the WWE had wrestling magazines from 84, somewhere around there. Yeah, 84, 85. And, you know, Ted DiBiase, Elizabeth, Jake the Snake, Sonny, Psycho Sid Vicious, Stone Cold, Mick Foley. You know. I did have a couple of things I wanted to show. Number one is this an official program from Royal Rumble, 1991. I didn't go there, but somebody did and sent me this. So, and it just got you know, inside it's got the card, you know, and then it's got various articles on all the different people and whatnot, you know, Royal Rumble special matches. You know, so so much. So much. And then this right here, which I kept inside there, this is a card that I went to April 20th, 1991, at Boston Gardens in Boston, Massachusetts. And this is the program. This is the match lineup. So the main event was Hulk Hogan versus Sergeant Slaughter. Underneath was Roddy Piper versus Ted DiBiase. Then we got, that was for the, for the Intercontinental title, it was Mr. Perfect, the champion, versus the British Bulldog. And then we had Texas Tornado, which is Kerry Von Erich, against the Model, Rick Martel. The Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, against the Orient Express. Probably fresh from their stint in the AWA. The Dragon, I think that might be Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat, the Dragon, versus Haku, or Meng, as everybody knows him. Bret the Hitman Hart versus the Barbarian. And Tugboat versus the Berserker, which used to be Nord the Berserker from AWA. So, but that was pretty cool. We just kept that over the years. So, what else did I have here? Let's see. Wonderful World of Wrestling magazine, and this is from 1968-69, where they're doing a retrospective on Bruno Sammartino. And it's basically pictures of midget wrestlers. This is an article on Bruno, from Hope. What's it say? From Hope to the Pope. I don't get that, but because he's Italian, maybe? I don't know. Flying Tackle. Oh, Professor Toru Tanaka. And who's the other fella? Victor Rivera. Victor Rivera, who was a good guy, and then he turned on people. Oh, and then we've got, let's see. Like, they got their own little type of ranking things here in the beginning of it. The top heavyweights is Bruno being the world champion. And these were just the... these were the people who were wrestling here at the time. So this must have been kind of like a WWE or WWF thing. Killer Kowalski was here. They list the Sheik. George the Animal Steel, Victor Rivera, Spiros Arion, another one who was a face and then turned heel on Chief J Strongbow. It was never paid. Chief J Strongbow should have never got back into tag team wrestling, because I think all of his partners, with the exception of Billy White Wolf, always turned on him. Imagine that. Gorilla Monsoon, Professor Toru Tanaka, Haystacks Calhoun, Bull Ramos, Hans Mortier, and Cowboy Fitzpatrick. I don't even know Cowboy Fitzpatrick. So, but anyway, that was a cool little unique piece. I never saw it before, haven't seen it since. Got a book on Captain Lou Albano. So, with that, and then is a book I love reading. It's by Ole Anderson. I've got several books done by wrestlers. Some of them I like, some of them I don't. The ones that I don't like are the ones that tend to stay in character, if you will, or in kayfabe, as they say in the business. Instead of just telling the truth. Everybody knows what wrestling is, and we still love it. So, don't insult my intelligence with trying to pretend it's something it's not. That drives me crazy. But somebody like Ole, he tells it to you straight in there. So I've got one by Dusty Rhodes. I got Ric Flair's. I got Mankind, Mick Foley's book, Terry Funk, probably a couple other. Jack Briscoe, I think he did one. I think I got his. So, oh, okay. Uh-oh, we had another crap-a-lanch. Uh-oh. Razor Ramon just fell down. So I got two more things I want to show you. Just bear with me a moment. Thank you for staying with me. If you've watched this whole thing, boy, you ought to get some kind of an award or something. You know. Again, like I said, if you're not a wrestling fan and you're still watching, doggone, you deserve something. But I'm trying to get something here that I want to show, but it's giving me a fight. So here we go. This is probably my favorite wrestling possession, I guess, in my collection. It was when I saw it, I said I had to have it, and I believe I got it for, I think it was a Christmas present or a birthday present. Anyway, check it out. It's a replica of the NWA World Championship, the one that Ric Flair made famous. Ric Flair, Harley Race, Terry Funk. Those were the guys who first wore this belt. And you know, it's a complete belt and everything. I mean, it is. It doesn't come out too often. I only bring it out on special occasions. I love this thing. Never really was thrilled with the WWE titles. So I don't have any other. This is the only actual title I have. I would like to get a WWF World Heavyweight Championship, just a replica of that, because that's what I grew up with. I would like to have that. And the other one I would like to get is the NWA Television Championship, because that's such a unique belt. The silver and red one, that's such a unique belt. I love that. But this is my big piece to the collection. I can't. Why am I not getting that out there? There we go. Let me hold it up here. There we go. So you can see it. 10 pounds of gold, Ric Flair used to call it. One of the things I always liked about Ric Flair, like I said, never got to see him until like the 80s, early 80s. He would always carry that belt, you know. He'd carry it like this, you know, which to me just showed respect for the championship. You know, he didn't carry it over his shoulder like they do nowadays, and that drives me crazy. You know, I hate that. I want to see him, you know, they carry it, you know, in the crook of their arm, fold it up, you know, treating it with respect, you know. And I know it's just wrestling, but it's just, you know, whatever. But he used to call it the 10 pounds of gold, you know. So I love that thing. Whoop. And I try and get it. It comes in a little sleeve right here. So I was trying to get it out. I didn't want to give it away. And then the last thing I'm going to show, we are at an hour and 16 minutes. This is what could have been, okay, from another future, an alternate reality of some kind. Yeah, look at the mean kisser on that guy. Courtesy of 1989, 88, 89, somewhere right there. That was so much fun. I had this done down in place called Boardwalk and Baseball. It was an amusement park down in Florida. It was actually also the facility where the Kansas City Royals used to have their spring training. But it is now, it's long since been defunct. It's probably been defunct for 20 years. But when me and my wife went down there on a honeymoon in 88, we went in there, and that was one of the things. You could get your picture taken and put on various different magazines. And when I saw the Pro Wrestling Illustrated one, I said, oh, I got to get one of those. So that's me right there. Look at that hair. Look at that. Oh my gosh. See, this is how I can prove to my kids. See, I wasn't always old, you know. So that's too funny, though. Love that thing. Oh, well. Oh, shoot. I didn't even get to show those. What did I do with them? Oh, where are they? Where are they? Okay. I got everything all just jumbled in a mess over here. Where are they? Over there. Is that it? No. No. What did I do with it? Oh, where did you go? Where did you go? Oh, they might be at the bottom of that stack there. Hold on with me. Hold on. Yep. Yeah, where are you? No, I don't see you. Oh, there they are. Okay. It would have been a nice segue had I been ready. Because that picture that I just showed you was from Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And this right here is a copy of a reprint of the very first issue of Pro Wrestling Illustrated from September of 1979. And this eventually would become like the most prestigious respected magazine of the wrestling magazines. And this was like I said, this was a replica of it. And right here is the real deal. So this one here is the actual first issue, vintage. And this right here is the reprint. So, and who's on the cover? Mil Mascaras. That was his red and green outfit. But you see, I mean, he was just built like a superhero right out of the comics, you know. And here he was wearing a mask. So he was a superhero to me, you know. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, okay. Thank you very much for hanging in there. If you've made it to the end of this, give yourself a big pat on the back and a big attaboy, because you deserve it. So maybe I'll do another one. I've got many more. I didn't even get through half the stack that I pulled to show. So, well, Eric, I thank you again for the suggestion. I hope you enjoyed what I show. If you got some suggestions about what you want to see about these wrestling magazines further, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. All right. So until then, till next time, we'll see you again. Everybody be well, be safe, and we'll talk to you again next time. 6 to an even. Over and out.
This concludes our broadcast day.